Welcome to Gallifrey Stands. I'm Dr. Squee, and as my guest companion this week, I must up front, as always, apologize for this wallpaper. It's going soon, I promise. It is in hand. But welcome, please, my esteemed guest companion this week. It is the author extraordinaire, Anna Stevens, friend of the show, as always. How are you doing?
Hi, I'm really good, thanks. How are you?
Yeah. We were just saying before we came on that you will please excuse me because my shoulder's basically locked a bit at the moment. It's based on where I broke it that side, actually, but it's kind of locking on that side. Anyway, you know, sympathetic muscles or whatever. But it's where I broke my arm a couple of years ago, and I may have aggravated it a few times along the way, and it's not very happy with me. So I'm currently on codeine. So between the stiffness in my neck, the codeine, let's go to Valhalla with this one. We're going to be, and of course it would be the week when we're covering 2 episodes because I took last week off because of Mum going to hospital. Everything's going fine, guys. It's fine.
It's fine. We keep on trucking.
Oh, Mum, thank you very much for everyone who sent lovely messages about Mum. She's doing great. She's coming home soon, where she's going to be doing some physio from home. So thank you very much, guys. Really appreciate the well wishes. We start off with the well. I've got to admit, out of the 2, Lucky Day is my favorite of these 2 episodes. But how about for yourself?
That's like asking which of my books is my favorite to have written.
Okay. Yeah, you're a big fan of both.
I did love them both. I thought they did very different things. But just for that hark back to midnight, which is one of my favorite ever episodes, I thought the well was really good. It went right old school. I thought it was that sort of quite stripped back scenery, setting, stage, despite all the Disney money being thrown at it. Obviously it looked very slick, but it wasn't CGI, it wasn't explosions, it wasn't, big CGI monsters, anything like that. It was just people having the pants scared off them
a bit more of an intimate fear.
Very much so. I thought it was brilliant. I loved it.
And we'll get into it. I enjoyed it on merits. I can see it as a sort of more spiritual cousin to Midnight than it being the same monster, as has been much mentioned on the internet. I think that's a fair kind of comment, but we'll get into that as we go into it. But
okay.
Yeah. So we start. I like the fact that they've kind of started Belinda off on a footing of challenging and questioning the Doctor, and not maybe kind of being yes Doctor, 3 bags full Doctor straight away. I kind of hope they do keep that up and they do keep that kind of combative thing. But it's kind of like, it's interesting that, she's starting to come around at the beginning of this one, and they get very excited about going to the costumes.
Yes. Yeah, I did like that, because that was sort of the first sign that we've really had of her thawing into this. She's obviously still desperate to get home, and things are starting to get rather worrying on that level, you know, that no one has heard of the human race, no one's heard of the planet Earth, things like that.
Yeah, that's really in
those
this.
are
On that
horrible, you know, that's a horrible thing for her to be dealing with. And obviously, you know, for the Doctor to be thinking, well, I've visited it quite a lot in the past and the future, and you know, I've lived there and all this kind of stuff. So that sort of central mystery. I like the fact that that they're keeping that going, that there is just something that is stopping them getting back to 2025.
Since we're in the region of that anyway, how do you feel about, like, it's been much discussed about the Doctor's emotionality? I think most people are in favor of. I think it's more kind of a question of some people just questioning how much they kind of go to that well. I did think in this one, I like the Doctor to reassure the companion a little bit, like to put, like, even if it's a front, even if they show him to later sort of like have a moment to himself where he kind of like reveals that it's front. I don't know. I want him to be a bit more stoic in front of the companion, maybe. That's my. What say you?
Yeah, it's an interesting. It's interesting that they've allowed it to go for him to be this emotional, and I suppose for me, I'm glad that they did it with Ncuti rather than with Jodie, because I feel like that would have just been quite stereotypical, you know, the first female Doctor and she's crying every 5 minutes kind of thing.
Whereas with just on that point, like with Ncuti, I think they've nailed exactly what they did with every other Doctor before it, which is to bring out the personality of the person through the lens of the Doctor, and this feels very Ncuti, very kind of alive version of the Doctor, kind of to bring in authentic gay culture in a way that you can't fake, you know. That's what you see. And I've said, like, what I think's really nice is I think it's been a safe place for producers to sort of like let the suggestion that the Doctor's bisexual be kind of enough, whereas like this is an out and out a gay Doctor, which like I'm not saying anything about portraying bisexual people, because we should as well, but it's like it's good to show both, you know, and not use it as tokenistic, like that. Well, it's okay, they're a bit straight, you know what I mean? There's like, I feel like some producers are a bit like that, you know.
Yeah, definitely. And I think it was nice because it's clearly pretty much from day one of the modern era Doctor, it's been leading towards a much more diverse cast, a much more diverse idea of the Doctor, but also of Time Lords. You know, we saw the first regeneration of a Time Lord from male to female. You know, we had the I can't remember her name. The Forgotten Doctor?
Oh, the Fugitive Doctor.
The Fugitive Doctor.
I still feel like just that mechanism felt like a bit of a copy of the War Doctor to me, but okay. We just done that recently. I don't know. Okay, now.
So I think we've had, you know, we've clearly been leaning more and more towards, you know, we've had LGBTQ companions. Definitely. And you know, it's all sort of been built into this. And at the end of the day, if you can change your face and you can change your gender, then you know, you've got to be fluid. You fall in love with people for who they are, not for what they look like, how they present, how they identify, any of that. But to go back all the way to your original question, Belinda, with the can we, you know, should we change our clothes kind of thing. I did really like that, because it was sort of the first time she sort of expressed an interest in this whole process that she is trapped within. So before, she seems to have been very much like, we've just got to do this in order to get home. I'm not going to enjoy it. And then it felt, you know, she felt sort of very professional and workmanlike and stoic. And then this was sort of the first glimpse that, despite myself, I kind of enjoy it. It's a bit exciting.
Yeah, and that felt really realistic, because it's like, you know, even if you are a little bit po-faced, if you find yourself in the past, of course you're going to be curious. Of course you're going to want to look. Of course that's going to happen. And you know, I don't like it when they kind of like insult the audience in things, and they play it to the nth degree, where they, you know, no, I'm not getting involved with it. It's like, you're in the past. Of course you're going to involve. You know, no one's going to not at least have some reaction to it, or some kind of action that they do.
Yeah. So I did. I quite enjoyed the Doctor sort of saying, "I've been on this planet once before. It's the most scared I've ever been in my life." And I wonder if it's because Belinda she's an older companion, specifically compared to Ruby. She's extremely competent. She's very professional. She's very sort of grown up. She's got her head screwed on right. And I just wonder if that's why he could just be honest with her and honest with all of the troopers. You know, this is not a nice place. You guys don't want to be getting comfortable here.
I can sort of see echoes of John Noble, like in that regard, that, you know, the relationship was different because she wasn't, you know, a 19-year-old girl. That kind of changes the relationship based on her life experiences. And I could totally see that here. I didn't pick up on that before, so that's interesting. But I think the interesting thing about having these two episodes back to back was that because there was the end of Ruby's story, and then you had the Christmas special, and then you had this new story, you never sort of kind of really compared the two companions, like not compared in a kind of a nasty way, but in like an interesting way of like, oh, how are they different, how are they the same, and everything like that. And you have that crossover that some companions get. So it's kind of interesting with these back-to-backs. It really reminded me how different Ruby was and how different the energy felt based on what energy each of them brings to the role.
Yeah, definitely. And it was interesting to see Ruby at the point where she is in her life now, which she's obviously she's been through a hell of a lot, and you know, she has got stuff that she needs to deal with from her time with the Doctor. But the way that she just took control, and you know, the Doctor wasn't there, and it was up to her, and she knew what she was talking about. She knew what she needed to do. She knew how she needed to do it. She was, you know, when she said, you know, everyone stay indoors, lock the windows, blah, blah, blah. And that guy in the pub said, who put you in charge? I just loved that her reaction was, well, go outside, see what happens. I don't care. Go get eaten, you know. And it was really nice to see her operating without the Doctor, and to see the fact that she has sort of grown and changed within herself from her initial episodes up to where she is in her life now. I thought that was a nice difference. It's still very much Ruby. And she is still very young, and she's, you know, the way Conrad treated her was we'll
get into that in a minute. Let's
okay.
He's a great one to talk about. I'm very much looking forward to that discussion. So we've done about the Earth not being remembered. I did think it was interesting with the spacesuits. I know the Doctor knew the time, and he'd mentioned about the Empire and stuff, but it's like, it's the fact that he had the exact same spacesuits that they had. That was so convenient. But I prefer this to the orange one, I've got to say. I think it's a bit slicker.
Yeah.
I like this.
Shooty looks good in that spacesuit.
We're seeing Disney money on the page right there, on the stage right there.
Yeah. Definitely.
Alice, who's played by Rose Ayling-Ellis, I thought it was a really great use. I just want to use this as an example for anyone who says that disability is crammed in there. The way this was used was, I think, very kind of like lightly, very kind of like integrated into the story very naturally, with the kind of words just appearing out, you know, such a natural thing, which we're not really that far away from technology-wise anyway. Seemingly. Seems like that's something which could happen within the next 5 years, you know.
Yeah, I think it probably could. And I also saw something, I don't know if it was on the news or on social media. It's horrible how the two of those sometimes conflate. But
increasingly.
there was a proposal to make British Sign Language compulsory in GCSE level.
Yeah.
And it really, that sort of felt very important at the time of watching that episode, because of the fact that one of the troopers said to Belinda, how can you be a nurse who doesn't know how to sign? And I just love the idea that it was a prerequisite for becoming a nurse in Lombardic, in the Lombardic world, that if you can't sign, you can't do it, because obviously you can't communicate with everyone the way they need to be communicated with. And I just, I think it would be wonderful if something like that was made a GCSE, even if kids just do it for 1 year at the start, and then they can choose to keep learning it.
And I really love the fact that it could have a laugh, but it kind of dealt with it kind of respectfully. So it's like, when the doctor says something, going, keep your eye on her, though, it's like, I can read lips. I'm right here.
Yeah. She's like, no.
There was something a bit like that in the Patience on Channel 4. It was this woman who's this archivist for the cops. And she becomes a consultant on cases, and she's on the spectrum, and they deal with it so well. And they got this kind of meeting of people on the spectrum kind of talking about their kind of daily life, so the support group. And a neurotypical person attends one of them, and there's a sort of joke at one stage, which is like, it's really hard to describe. It's like the neurotypical person was in the minority. So it was like the joke was sort of like not at her expense in a nasty way, but kind of just reversed in balance of power, if you will, kind of. And it was just
absolutely.
It was nice to see that. It was just it's a situation you never see on TV, and it was just so respectful. It felt, and so natural, and so not nasty towards anyone at all.
No.
It's
nice
to make fun on people's blind spots.
Yeah, it's an invitation to sort of laugh with someone, not at someone, isn't it?
Exactly.
But I did like the sort of the continuation I felt of that moment where she says, I can read lips. So the doctor later on, his next, the only way he could do to keep her out of it was he had to turn his back.
Yeah.
And it felt, I'm not sure. I mean, because she says, please don't turn your back on me. And he immediately turns around and apologizes. And I wasn't quite sure whether he'd done it on purpose in order to cut her out of what he was saying, or whether it was a moment of the doctor making a mistake. I'm not sure. I haven't really made up my mind which one of those I think it was.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Yeah, I hadn't considered that. I thought it was, at the time, it was him making a mistake, is how I interpreted it. But now you've said that, that makes perfect sense that it could be either. So because now you put the mystery in my head. It's
You're welcome.
Well, I need something to think about at 2 a.m. when I just randomly wake up. So
There we go.
Tonight's featured player. That's a very good. Yeah. Now I'm going to be distracted by that the whole episode. But anyway. The only thing I was thinking though is like, is there a reason why she lies about? Because she lies about what happened to begin with, and I can't think why she lies. I don't know. It's just like she hasn't done anything wrong. There's no saying that the things there won't cause anything extra, like, because she kind of slightly distorts the truth about the others and what happened.
Well, I mean, she sort of openly, immediately admits, that's my best friend, I killed her.
Yeah.
But it was self-defense. I didn't have a choice. But then she doesn't acknowledge the fact that there is something behind her.
Yeah.
Which I don't know whether that was just, is it just fear? does she not want to acknowledge it? I mean, she'd been alone there for 15 days with the body.
Yeah.
And the thing behind her. But I don't know. I mean, I suppose the doctor does say you can't hear it whispering. That might be why it hasn't hurt you. So maybe if she can't see it herself, maybe she's not entirely sure if it is there. I'm not sure.
Maybe her whispering, it doesn't bring it about so much. Like, you have to invoke it more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, there's that really nice moment that's sort of a close-up on her face where she just sort of half glances like towards her shoulder as if she knows it's there, but she hasn't said anything at that point.
I also think as well, because her voice is quite light, I think deaf voices tend to be lighter, something to do with not being able to hear themselves, obviously.
Yeah.
That really lent itself to kind of like, because her voice was so light, just creating that atmosphere. And I think there was a little bit of echo on it as well. And it just worked so nicely for the effect here, I felt.
Yeah, definitely. I think it made it was really atmospheric. I think just, her acting ability, I thought was brilliant. She really, she really kind of inhabited the role, and you could really sort of feel she didn't look immediately relieved when they walked in. She looked really wary, and it was as if, oh my God, it's all about to start again. How am I going to get out of this, get home to my child, all the rest of it?
And the fear of people who don't read sign, their wariness of it. It's not only obviously very relatable to exactly how they use it here, but also to people who get so scared because they don't understand the language someone's speaking. And I think it speaks to so many of those just baseless fears and things that used to pry on people and turn people against people. It's just I think there was so much was said within that just one little bit there.
Yeah, definitely.
So we then have the midnight reveal. As I say, I think it's a really interesting monster. I think it definitely works in the same psychological way as a midnight. I just don't think they did anything to tie it really together with it for the powers the midnight version has and the powers it has here. Like, it's not like with the Weeping Angels, they do a lovely job of in the second time they appear of saying a picture of an angel is an angel, so they expand out in that way and they add to the legend, but they start with something you recognize to build from that. There's no shared powers, it would seem, between these two things.
I mean, it is kind of slightly tenuous, I suppose, in that I rewatched Midnight the other day after seeing The Well. I've got to watch it again.
Did it stir up anything that I've missed?
Well, I mean, because in Midnight, it's either invisible or it never comes inside the truck. It just possesses Sky from outside, potentially, because you never see it. It's never inside. Unless it immediately moves into her. But it's not behind. Yeah, exactly. It's definitely not behind her because they all moved to the other end of the truck, so they would all immediately be killed if it was behind her, because she's got her back to them.
Because you could have even said it's like, if they'd run in, it's like, oh, it's weakened from something, somehow it's injured, so it can only be behind you, it can't fully possess you. So there was a way of writing it in that it made sense, but it just, I don't know, I didn't get it's so wonderfully creepy and uniquely creepy, I would say, the way it possessed them, and it would speak in such a creepy way and match his voice and be just out of time,
Yeah.
which seems even harder to do somehow. Like, can you imagine trying to say what someone's saying on top of them, even though
I
you've
know.
heard every line at the same time? That would be so distracting. It's
Yeah,
just
it was
acting
amazing.
masterclass the whole way through. And
Very much.
This has its own kind of feeling to it, but it's not that.
It does work in a different way. My only caveat for how the two could actually be the same creature is that 400,000 years have passed. That's a long time in terms of evolution and in terms of learning. I mean, the whole point in Midnight was that it was learning. So
I would just say, take me on that journey. Then they didn't do that. They
yeah,
like,
I know.
Don't just go. It's completely different. Yeah, well, stuff happened over many years that we're not going to tell you about.
Yeah.
So it's all resolved with the boss sacrificing herself. I thought she was great.
She was brilliant.
Yeah, she was brilliant. But it's like I feel like her character was serving a function. She did it perfectly, but there isn't too much more meat on that bone. Like it's the troop leader, which we've seen in loads of these episodes and played really, really well here. But it's it is a kind of a set role.
Yeah, I mean it was interesting in that she did actually kill the second in command she used the creature to kill her second in command who would sort of he had sort of started panicking, hadn't he? And he had lost all sort of sense of what he needed to do in order to stop the deaths. And he was just moving and panicking, and that was causing all of the troopers to get killed. So I was quite surprised, but I was impressed as well that she just looked at it and thought, right, well, he's going to kill all of us, so I'm just gonna and to use the visual screen that the words come up on him to make Alice turn around and therefore for him to get killed. I was just like, that's mean and
ingenious though. Actually, and well remembered. Sorry, yes, I had missed that one out. I must admit I didn't get a chance to rewatch that this week in preparation for this. So thank you very much for pointing out. Yeah, that was a genius moment. I love any kind of use of that kind of when you put a new bit of tech in the room, use it every way you can, have some fun with it. It's very much like when they brought back the Dalek and it was Rob Sherman and he had them as like Swiss Army knives. Suddenly they had a everything on them was a killing machine. Just so genius, just because he asked his girlfriend at the time, wife at the time when I interviewed him, and I'm going to assume still so. But he said that it's like he asked her, it's like, well, what's crap about these? Like, and what do I need to do to make it cool? And he just listed all the grievances she had with the Daleks because she wasn't a Doctor Who fan, and he addressed them all, and it was great, and he just made it really badass. And this use of technology in another way, I just love doing that.
Yeah, and because the thing is, she'd already been established as a crack shot. So she could have just taken the easy way out and just leant past Alice and shot him, and that would have been it. But she used the technology and she used the creature itself to take him out, and it was like a wow moment for me, because she didn't take the easy way out. She did something that was different, and that just made it more entertaining for the viewers. But it also sort of showcased the fact that this creature doesn't care who is moving Alice or who is making her move. It's, it just got to kill a bunch of troopers because of the guy, but it feels no loyalty to the guy whatsoever. It'll happily kill him next.
Yeah.
And so that was really interesting that they did it in that way.
Yeah. No, it was a very interesting bad guy for what it did. As I say, I thought it just worked on its own merits. It was just absolutely wonderful. So pretty much that's where we leave it. They have the hand from the grave kind of ending of like, it's not really dead. You've got Mrs. Flood mission control for her mandatory pop-up. So yeah, then we're on to Lucky Day, a Dr. Light episode, which I think in the mold of Blink was done incredibly well. I believe, am I right in saying you've got a soft spot for Love and Monsters, or am I thinking of someone else?
No, I mean, Midnight, Blink, definitely sort of up there, my top sort of.
Oh no, I meant just for the Dr. Light episodes. Love and Monsters was the other Dr. Light.
Sorry.
I remember someone was an advocate of it. I thought it might have been you, but I'm not sure.
Which one was Love and Monsters?
It's the one which isn't noted to be most people's favourite. It's the one with Peter Kay as the Absorbaloff, which is a great monster idea, by the way. And the pavement shenanigans.
Yeah. No, I quite liked that one. I quite like that. I mean, I was a huge fan of season 1 shooties of Boom, because although the Doctor was in it all the way through, he didn't move. And because the Doctor in general is sort of quite such a frenetic character, and shooting in particular with the dancing and the all the stuff that he's doing. For him to not be able to move for that entire episode, beautiful.
It just shows you what a intimate actor he can be as well, which we got to see in Sex Education. He had so many moments. That was really what kind of when I was watching it showed me that he was going to be a great Doctor. It was a bit where he's being bullied in the first episode I watched. He'd been I think it was in the second episode, because I remember in the first episode he was this large fabulous ball of energy, which I'm going, that's great. I love it. I think energy could work really nicely, but I need to see, like, because you're a young Doctor, I need to see the gravitas is what I want to see the most. Like in an older Doctor, I want to see the energy, like Capaldi gave. And it was the second episode, I think it was, and it's just there was a moment where he was just so shaken by being bullied, and it just it took me to that kind of moment myself. And it's like, anyone who can do that can pull and stuff, and they're going to be fine as the Doctor, as he's proven to be. But he can be such an intimate actor as well. So I agree, that was a wonderful one. But and it's another reminder how good Millie Gibson is, how great she was leading episode last series as well. And she just knocked out of the park again. She's amazing as an actor beyond her years, I would say.
Very much. I think this and because a role like a Doctor's Companion, you're faced, you're doing stuff that you're never going to do if you're in a soap opera or a drama or something like that. You deliberately put in situations that are outlandish and often absurd and sometimes frightening, and you're acting against things that aren't there, that are then sort of painted in afterwards and CGI'd in afterwards and all that kind of stuff. I thought she was great. She really sort of showed the whole sort of range of emotions when she first, from when she first met him, when they were first dating, and then when she phones up Kate Lethbridge Stewart and says, I'm really struggling, I'm on edge all the time, and she's sort of starting to acknowledge that maybe she was harmed by her time with the Doctor. It wasn't all just a huge, wonderful, exciting experience, that she's got some of those darker moments that she needs to process now.
This is a deceptively dark episode, really. It's like it presents itself as and it does a pretty good job of being a kind of like a bit of an adventure one, a little bit of romance thrown in there. You've got like kind of a few genres within the genre, but it's like it's kind of a very frenetic kind of episode, and it's like I think the darkness kind of creeps up on you there as it kind of the episode goes along. And it's nice to see Kate Stewart having some fun and working late.
Working late, yes.
I was like, fair play. Go for it, Kate.
Handsome chap. I don't blame her.
Although I just want some backstory, because I'm sure, like in a previous episode, she was married. Is she still married? Is this an affair? Is it like, has she split up with her husband? Or have I just made up that there was a husband? I'm sure there was a husband mentioned earlier on.
Oof.
Maybe I made this up.
Diving into the deep lore, if there was. I don't remember that.
Well, none which was seen on screen anyway.
No.
But yeah, from the beginning, we got like a nice adventure intrigue. We've got set up so that Conrad meets the Doctor as a kid. I thought it was kind of always an interesting kind of setup. What happens when you meet this kind of mythological creature when you're just a kid? Like, how that can manifest in someone can be so different from the kind of Raggedy Man kind of mold of seeing a hero to here, seeing a villain in waiting, and kind of what could this being mean for mankind.
It was an interesting one, because they didn't have much of an interaction at all. It was more a case of he obviously saw the TARDIS appear, and he didn't see it as a wondrous thing. And I wonder how much his mum's just complete dismissal of his words when he went back to tell her about it, how much that might have influenced who he grew up to be. You did. Felt like he needed to please her, or he needed to say the right thing to get that sort of a relationship with her. And the first thing he does is to tell him that he's lying, he's ruining her evening, and then she cuffs him around the head. I mean, if those are the things you take away from having seen the man in the blue box, then the next time you see him, you might think, oh, it's all sort of twisted up into one thing in your head, isn't it?
Pavlovian conditioning. And it's interesting because it's when you've got a scene like that, which is you're only seen in this time frame, you can say a lot with a little kind of detail. So you see that he obviously would have been unhappy with his parents being mad at him, dismissive of him. He's ruining her night. It's maybe she's there on a date with the kind of guy she's next to. It's like you can paint a lot of a picture from that, which is kind of very economical writing, which is very good.
Yeah, it's nice when, and obviously it requires the actors to sort of carry that economy of writing, and I think they did it brilliantly. Like you said, it was just a really small scene, and it was just a setup scene, but it did set the tone really for the whole rest of the episode.
Yeah, it's like you could infer that he grew up to think that it's like everyone's ruining his kind of like way of seeing everything. It's like, you're ruining my good time, like how I see the world.
Yeah. I mean, the fact that he tells Ruby that his mother's died of liver cancer, and it turns out that she's he bought her a house and she's living it up in the south of France. The fact that he would use something like that in order to get close to her and to get sympathy from her, I think sort of, despite the fact that he bought her a house, he also bought her a house in another country, so it still doesn't suggest that they have this wonderful parent-child relationship. It's almost like, right, okay, well, I'm rich now, I'll buy you a house, but not in Britain.
And also there's something sort of like, it doesn't require any thought to be rich and buy a house for your mum. And it looks good for your image, and it's like it could be seen in a very, very cynical way, let's just say. And it's like, and he gets to say that he did that for his mum, so he kind of takes power over her in a way. Again, so much can be inferred by so little. It's again, very, very economic kind of writing on this one, I think. I think there's a few things which require us to ignore a few things here. Like, so to begin with, First of all, I don't think Ruby's doing a podcast. I just don't. I think she's more savvy than to do a podcast about the Doctor. Unit would stop it in a second and would have found his history. Okay. We can say that he's a really good hacker. His organization is so tech savvy that they managed to hide his identity. I'll give him that one. I'll give him that much. But it's like later on, there's technology which, I'm sorry, RTD, but you gave Unit, so you can't say they don't have the ability to shut down cameras, to delete people from the internet, to stop someone in a heartbeat from doing any of this stuff. It's a lot which gets ignored. For that, we do get a wonderful episode. But come on, credit me with some memory of what's happened in the past. Sorry, some rules do matter, right? They do. Rules matter, right? Let's do them.
Yeah, I think, the Lynx could have just taken control of taken control of the live stream when Conrad came into Unit with the gun, and he had the chest cam on. The Lynx could have just taken that offline.
Yeah.
In an instant. But I wonder if that's why Kate said no, let him come, let him see. Was how they sort of worked around that?
But everything that happened up until that point, Kate would have wanted to have stopped. There was it shouldn't, she would have never let it get that far in the world they've told us we're in up until this point. I think RTD's gone too far with the nothing matters, just don't bother about kind of any logical, just enjoy this for what it is. It doesn't have to link to anything else. I want some kind of link to adventures that happened in the past and to why this is significant. If it's based on something more kind of defined and tangential, that has more impact for me.
Yeah, no, I understand what you're saying, definitely. I think for me it felt more like the message was the most important part of that story, that the fact that you can, and we have all come across it, the fact that you can literally throw the statistics and the truth and the science and the research, lay it out in front of someone and they'll go, don't believe you. And just the utter frustration of, you can't get past that with some people, and he was literally given all of the evidence, and he still just went, your costumes are getting better. I was like, oh my God, it was so frustrating as a character. Fair play to the actor, but I would punch him in the face if I saw him on the street, because I came out of that episode with my teeth gritted, because I was so frustrated by him.
He was great at acting. He's got a very punchable face. He just was. The only thing I will say is he was way too good looking. He didn't even look slightly inbred, which all of the people on the far right always do. He was too handsome for the role, is my only critique. It's Nick Griffin, the Robinson, they all just look
he had too good a jawline to
but I'm going to get the kind of again another kind of little bit of a peeve out of the way before I very much celebrate this kind of just wonderful moment in this. But it is when they very conveniently, there's a bit where the monster goes oh, and then decides to sniff instead of kind of clawing his face off. Kate Stewart must have studied these for months to know that it does that every time before then, so definitely his life isn't in danger. Because either you're saying Kate Stewart was up for letting him die, which I don't think they're saying. I think she was leaving to the last possible moment to save him. I think that's what we're saying here. I'm sorry.
It was close.
But it did so many things where it could just easily have knifed him and she couldn't have stopped him.
I know.
Again, some logic, just a little bit of logic. That's all I'm after. Just a little. But
I mean, there were a lot of guns trained on that on the Shriek at all times.
I know. I think still though, if it was mid-lunge, it would just die on top of them. Basically, it's like crush him to death instead. Okay, maybe it's a bit in the course. I don't know. But yeah, it's that moment with Kate Stewart though. Just what a tour de force. Gemma Grave, amazing as always. I think this was one of the best written Kate Stewart performances. I think. It's funny actually. I thought her first one was probably actually I'm mad that's the episode that they showcased her first in because she was great straight from the beginning, but it's not the strongest episode, The Power of Three. It really just plods along. But what a character to come out of it, and she was great straight from the beginning. But just to write her having this moment, and of course to have it being the Brigadier, which sets it off, is so fitting. It doesn't feel like. In other episodes, occasionally it feels like they put the Brigadier in just to mention the Brigadier and just have that, we mentioned the Brigadier moment. It's sort of like in this episode, they mentioned the Beatles earlier, which is clearly just to place them in time. There's no other line. It's like, I missed them. What, you missed them from 3 seconds ago when you just left them after meeting them once? Okay. It seems very obviously planted there, but this felt very more natural. This is the thing that would, and he is the guy who, we do see it with these people who rake up all the family history for some, whether they're in politics or not now, quite frankly, but even before now, they were doing that to people whose parents were in politics. Their parents' politics mattered to how someone was seen and the narrative people tried to weave around them. So this is totally a move that this guy would do. And that is totally the thing which would send Kate over the edge. You do not piss on the Brigadier's memory. I'm sorry.
No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. And I mean, I particularly I absolutely adored like the look on everyone's faces when Kate said, "I'm glad the doctor's not here because he would stop me." And everyone kind of went, "Oh, damn, what is she going to do?" kind of thing.
I noticed the doctor doesn't turn up until after this. I think that's expressed by the doctor. He's allowing this to happen because he knows she won't cross that line, but he also knows that she's going to scare the living crap out of him, and I think he's okay with that in this moment.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's. Yeah, I think that's something that he wants because, as we've said, that people who just will not be open to educating themselves or being educated by others, and just have these set in stone opinions. You do feel as an individual that you have to take these extreme measures to wake someone up and to say, look, I'm not saying you're wrong, even though you're totally wrong. What I'm saying is be open to a discussion. And he wasn't. And it's almost as, and I think that's what Kate was trying to do. She was like, how can you still not believe when I am going to put you through this moment? And the fact that he didn't. Oh my God. I couldn't believe it. And even when the doctor brought him into the TARDIS and spoke to him then, and he still, it takes a very certain sort of blindness to refuse to believe the evidence of your own eyes.
And let's not, of course, skip over that moment with Shooty at his finest. It felt like, in a way, it kind of, it was so recognizable to those moments where David Tennant gave speeches like this, where Matt Smith gave his version of this speech. Any of the doctors gave their version of this kind of speech. Mainly in New Who, this kind of the archetype of the dark Doctor Who moment. But at the same time, it was so uniquely Shooty. It was so kind of his energy, his passion, his kind of rage, his way of kind of like yeah, you want to know, right? Here's your future. Then, like
Yeah.
I'm going to break that rule because you deserve that penance. Your own choices are your penance. Like, I'm not going to do anything to you, honey. I'm just going to tell you what happens because of who you are. And it kind of very nicely led into then a kind of. I felt like it gave us a little bit more information on Mrs. Flood, that she actively let him out. Like, everything she's done up to this point, there's been a suggestion of evil. She was manipulating Ruby's mum, but in general, she's usually just been there, not kind of directing events necessarily.
Yeah.
This is out and out.
She's mostly just been observing and being a part of it, and maybe steering things in the background. But
well, there's been a suggestion that she was steering things, but this is
overt, isn't it?
Yeah. And the doctor's literally just told us what happened. So it's like, again, it's a 2-for-1 with that scene. It's like it tells us something, which then when she does that, we know what that means because of what he's just said. Yeah.
Precisely. But also, I mean, I'm not sure, but I think this is the first time we've seen Ncuti's doctor. I mean, the way he just laid out what Conrad had to look forward to or not look forward to for the rest of his life, it felt to me like the doctor had made a decision to be cruel.
Yes.
And is that the first time Ncuti's doctor has done that? I can't think of another instance off the top of my head. But it felt like nothing anyone has done has changed your mind. And therefore you are just this, as you said, this is what you have in your future. This is what is coming for you.
Yeah.
And what is coming for you is absolute nothing. It's just monotony. It's just blankness for the rest of your life, and then you die alone in a box. Which is slightly ironic because, you know, the doctor's in a box and all that. But it just sort of took my breath away a little bit, because he was being cold and deliberately cruel. And
it breaks his oath.
And he breaks his oath, but it was all, I don't know. I really liked it. It kind of, it gave me a bit of a shiver that he did it, but it felt fitting because this person just, and even then he was still like, well, I don't believe you. I reject your reality. And it's like, oh my God.
And it was the newsreel bit I felt was really interesting as well, especially where we are seeing in America the media crumble to the state and the state narrative. Maybe it doesn't go that far with this, but it's like it does show how kind of in the climate that we're in the show, which I believe mirrors our own, that he kind of goes through this kind of like media thing of like, he was just trying to tell the truth, and this seems a bit extreme just for some people playing a prank. You know, it's like how it gets spun and everything. And we see Trinity Wells back, which is always a pleasure. I love a kind of background character who has a life beyond what you'd expect they might. Chief O'Brien on comm meanie on Star Trek Deep Space Nine and Next Generation started off as this comm officer in Encounter at Farpoint, just basically steering the thing. Had like I think one line. I love it when those kind of things happen. So just a big shout out to that actor. The other thing we didn't talk about is Ruby's family kind of life. It was nice to have that little snapshot to see her mum just being pals with the nan, and cheeky comments about like the boyfriend, and looking at the hot pictures online, and the picture with the flash. Just there was, even if that's not quite your parent, like there's something relatable in there about them embarrassing you. You know, it's like
absolutely.
They will have their version of that they do with you.
Yeah, very much. Yeah, I mean, it was definitely nice to see the sort of the blending of the family, and how she still calls her mum, but she calls her birth mother Louise.
Yes.
I thought, it was nice because, her mum is always still going to be her mum, whether or not she has a relationship with her birth mother. It was just nice to see that, because that is, again, it's how it happens in the world, and
I appreciate it.
you can't just switch your allegiance, can you? So,
I mean, I'm a step parent who divorced the mum, still kept the kids. Like, it's like, and I find no less meaning in that relationship than if they were my birth kids. And
yeah, of course.
The amount of times it's used in the story, like, one of my least favorite things about Man of Steel was the fact that they made sort of like, as soon as Superman's birth parents turn up, he ditches his parents, lets one of them die, which he could have just been there, moved them out of the way, and been gone before anyone saw anything. But no, that's fine. And just like it was picking the birth parents for no good reason over the parents who raised you. That's not my Superman. I'm sorry. Like, and actually, maybe you get the thuggish Superman who destroys a city block out of that. They kept true to the story. I'll give them that. But it's just that's not my idea of Superman. And I think that's just so disrespectful to what was a story about kind of foster parents and adoptive parents, how great they are. They turn it sort of into an insult to we not and it's fine. We've got loads of great stories about kind of the nuclear family, and that's great. I'm not saying that shouldn't be celebrated, but that one was ours.
Yeah, exactly. For people who have never grown up in that environment, to see their sort of complicated family dynamic represented on TV in exactly the same way as seeing that in the far, far distant future on a planet that used to be called Midnight, there are still deaf people and people know how to communicate with deaf people. I mean, it's so important to be like, well, not everyone has been cured of everything that is wrong with them, because that's not how people work.
Yeah. Let's not talk about people trying to cure things which don't need curing. That's just going to start me off. Yes, I'm sure I need curing of the brain goblins. That's sure. RFK. Oh, anyway. Enough said about it.
Let's not.
No, sorry. And we're calm. We're in the room. I did like the fact that we're going to Lagos for the next episode. I thought that was really cool. Oh, sorry. Actually, one story I was going to tell, just Bob, what you were talking about. We talking about Superman and everything, and stepkids and all that. I was doing I did a student film. It's me and one other person, and spoiler alerts for anyone who's going to watch it when I put it up. But basically, the guy comes I'm sat in the bar. The guy comes in bragging about the fact that he just got off a murder rap for his ex-girlfriend. My character's looking at this picture all through the thing, and he's kind of really sour, but he's trying to get the details of it, what happened with this guy. And he strangles the guy out in the bathroom, and then puts a kind of, we see the picture for the first time. It's a picture of him and his daughter. So I asked my stepdaughter, it's like, they were saying, it's like, oh, we could take a picture of you with the producer. And I said, it's like, oh, no, it's like, why don't I just give you a picture? Then I'll be that many years younger anyway, so it'll be perfect. So I did with Amy, my stepdaughter, and she agreed to let me have this picture to use. And the thing was, when I split up with her mum, we kind of came up with Bat Dad. It was some sort of silly joke I made about, it's like, I may not be like technically your stepdad anymore, but I will always be Bat Dad, or something like that. Something very silly, and it became an on-running thing. And I said to Amy yesterday, I messaged her, and I was like, oh my God, I just realized something, because I used that photo for that scene. I am Bat Dad, and I'd done a vengeance for you. So, I killed in her name, and she's still alive. The best of all possible worlds.
Fabulous.
I was very pleased with that one. But anyway, sorry, I was going to say, so I think that kind of wraps that one up. But we're going to Lagos next episode, which I think it's really great to have an African country featured with the first Doctor who's got a Rwandan descendant.
Rwandan, yeah.
So I think to represent that part of him is really great, and it's obviously it's nice, authentic storytelling with Doctor Who.
Yep. Yeah, very much.
Yeah, this is why I love the fact that they kind of are moving to have different kind of genders, ethnicities, everything into the story, because you can tell these stories from a very uniquely genuine perspective using the Doctor without changing the character. You just add to the character what the character is. I think that's really great. Something I think they struggled with when they brought back Quantum Leap was they had one episode where they tried to deal with transgender. Not only was it really ham-fistedly done to the point where it felt like one of those American, the more you know kind of things, it just felt like they, it's everything which kind of the right accuses like drama of being.
Yeah.
It did, it just did. And it was, the worst thing was because they obviously didn't want the character of Ben to leap into a transgender person, because I think then that doesn't feel authentic. He isn't a trans person. They then had the person who was featured. I feel like they felt, I understand why they wanted them to take center stage and be leading the drama and leading everything that's happening, finding their own solutions. But then why is Ben there? If he's not there to solve an issue, but then if you have him solving the issue, then it's taking the power away from the trans character. You're always going to be on high rates of nothing. Whereas with the Doctor can be anything and anyone. And that means you can have these authentic stories all told from this one character in a great way. And I think that's just something wonderful about Doctor Who, which, it's a shame we can't have nice things with some people.
Indeed. And I mean, I know because people, it seems that every week a new episode drops and then people complain about it being too woke. And I just think, in a world where you can go anywhere and do anything and meet anyone, why does everybody need to be white and straight and conservative? And why is it that we only white people can fight monsters, or only white people can defend against aliens, or only white people can avoid the end of the world? I mean,
in America. Sorry. I just I think you cut out for a second. I thought you were saying something else. Yeah.
So I
this is why I shouldn't do these shows on codeine. It's dangerous. It's dangerous.
But yeah, I mean, of course, you're going to see people from all ethnicities and backgrounds and walks of life and genders and sexual orientations and disabilities or abilities, and because you're literally traveling the universe. The universe is not just peopled with white folks, so it just boggles my mind. But also what I love is that it's starting to feel like every time there's a big backlash, RTD goes, oh yeah, okay, how can we make it even more woke? It's almost like he's actually just double down on it, which I love.
Hey, make it as woke. See, like just a few more logic points is all I'm after. It's just
just here and there.
And maybe every now and again have more of the Doctor being the cleverest guy in the pub as opposed to omniscient God. I don't know. I just and especially like Ncuti is at his best when he's intimate. Like when he's just, even if he's being large, if he's being large for that one person, like he makes that person feel like the most important person in the universe. That's his superpower. And I don't think we've got to do that. I prefer him when it's him creating the magic, not that he is made of magic. Except for Ncuti is of course made of magic. I'm not questioning it. I mean, this is probably this episode is probably the outfit of his, the outfit alone I don't like, but of course it's Ncuti, so it works for him. But like the hat with the a jacket. I don't. Yeah, that's yeah. I think I'm not to Patrick Troughton maybe with a hat though.
You know, that man could look good in a bin bag. You know.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. I'm just saying, I think it's the first outfit that independently I don't think necessarily works outside Shooty, who can wear anything.
Fair enough. So you're not going to be cosplaying that particular iteration?
No. Although, you know, my favorite one of his so far was the was it like, I don't know if it was technically a kilt or a skirt which was tartan, but the can say tartan skirt with the leather jacket and the white t-shirt. That was awesome. That looked amazing on him.
His very first one when we met Ruby.
Yeah, that looks like a great night out outfit.
That was pretty iconic.
Yeah, that was a great one. That's my favorite. It's just really nice because, like, I was thinking about this earlier, and then I will let you go in a second. I was thinking about this earlier that it's you know that thing of like how did you it wasn't Australia where a guy wore the same suit on the news for a year to make a point about women's outfits being commented on because no one noticed, whereas if his female worker wore something different, it would be commented on every time. And I love the fact that we are here on a weekly basis here on Gallifrey Stands. We will rate every single one of Shooty's outfits, and I will not stop because this is not just for how good this man looks in everything, but it is for equality.
Can't stop, won't stop.
I will objectify Shooty every time. Okay, for a very codeine-filled Gallifrey Stands, thank you very much for joining us as always. Anna, have you got anything to plug at the moment?
The Songs of the Drowned trilogy, which is my second epic fantasy trilogy, all 3 books are now out in paperback. So if you have been waiting for the trilogy to complete, you can now get your grubby little mitts on all 3 of them. The titles are The Stone Knife, The Jaguar Path, and The Dark Feather. Although
I would request you clean your mitts before you read them. Have some respect for books. And for this week, that was Gallifrey Stands. I'm pretty sure I've got a sign off for this thing. Until next week, live like you've got 2 hearts, and please be kind, everyone. Like, be kind towards a podcaster who might just be hooked up on painkillers and pain.